Yo, we're live, I hope. Different stream right now. What you're looking at on your screen, hopefully, is a statement made by former CEO of Panda, Dr. Allen, who has, as you can see on your screen, the very first thing that it says is, I am no longer CEO of Panda, and I'm no longer part of the Smash community, which is already a lot. It's a 30-minute read of a statement, and given that I have made part of the person, because people did end up coming into the stream asking what was going on, I believe that I should take action based on the information I have. I had no further information based on what there was at the time, and now new information is forward, and I'm willing to give it a fair and honest chance before I come to a conclusion. So that's what the stream is we're going to go over the statement, and we're going to see if we can come up with a consensus of how I, as an individual, feel. Now, a really important disclaimer when I do streams like this is that your opinion matters more than mine. What I say shouldn't be final. Hold on. Sorry, I'm just typing up some stuff. Getting a tweet out saying I'm streaming this. Tweeting that out, and let's post it. I'm not going to plug it anywhere else. Just post on Twitter that I'm responding to it. Which hopefully gets me a little bit of views on this. Not that I should be doing it for views. I think that's a not fair way of taking on something that's difficult like this. But I do feel like something I feel good about doing. Putting forth my own opinions about things. Because I was somebody who was very critical initially. I'm going to turn down my mic a little bit. I'm a bit loud. Test. I'm pretty loud. That should be good. But with that, let's cue the music. Is this loud enough? It seems like a good volume. We're using the read aloud that the platform that Dr. Allen put this on gives us. So I'm not going to be reading it. The computer will be. And I'll be pausing it throughout to give my own thoughts. But let's get started.
Statement. I am no longer CEO of Panda. I will no longer be part of the Smash community. I do not wish to return.
I think that's a really important first step. That's a very important thing to say now, because a lot of the theories that were going on about past this initial statement was like, hey, he could still be a majority stakeholder in Panda, which he does also immediately address.
Deserves the truth, and I'm not afraid to call out the names I have too. The private information of myself and members
okay, it's
of
not.
Panda
He doesn't go over
online.
yet, but he does eventually.
This has gone too far. If there is anyone who is interested in purchasing my shares of Panda, please reach out to the company.
He is wanting out, but he has like stakes, and because it's complicated, I don't know the logistics of that, so I don't know how easy it is for him to just walk away from his shares in the company. If that means he's fully disconnecting, or if that means he's still going to be involved with stuff in the background, but he's not going to be no longer have stakes in the company, or if he's just going to completely dip from the Smash community, which at this point, completely understandable. If there has been like private information leaks, as he's saying right here, and I think he also says that there were some death threats and whatnot coming up here.
Divesting is a complex process that takes time. For a quick summary of the actual truth, here is a message after notes I took during a conversation with Adu on April 14, 2022. Censored to protect identities. The events and claims that I will be making are true.
Before I move on, I realize I forgot to do something. Let me fix that really quick. Because I didn't add... Need audio properties. I didn't add delay to the audio. We need delay. That should be synced up a bit better. Sorry for not doing that before.
Are true. Some have evidence, some do not, as most of this is verbal conversations. In those cases, I do my best to recall details from memory and find corroborating evidence from internal chat logs with timestamps. I encourage you to read everything presented as to be better informed to the circumstances surrounding the Smash community currently.
And he already revealed the first little part here that I'm going to read, and this apparently happened April 14th. Per whoever the anonymous person is here. Gimmer and Ken hate you, man. Telling me something for real. That's apparently what stopped him from signing earlier. Ken said that you said you'd kill everyone who doesn't work with you. Is that true? Yeah, so it turns out Ken is spreading shit. Per Ken, person, I don't like Alan, but if they're really offering all of this, then even I'd take it. Per Gimmer, how long have we been working together? 8 years? And you're really going to do this to us? It was to the point that person even asked, how do you really feel about Panda? Do you have any hesitations? To which person said he has none. And there was a bit more in there that we can't read. So I was able to say, I don't know that word, his fears, and explain that no, I am not and have not threatened to kill events. I also told him I'm not threatened by Smash World Tour and have no reason to want to kill them. Explain that Nintendo can't license events on an unlicensed circuit, being the real reason why our circuit is exclusive. I additionally explained that I have offered many jobs. Trying to make sure. I have to remember that it looks different on your end than it does on mine. His fears, being threatened to kill events. I additionally explained that I've offered many ways to work with BTS, and I'd rather work with them, not against them. But they just won't talk to us. That's interesting. I think the most other thing, I don't know what is this relation to? Conversation with a TO. So this is a TO of some Smash event, and they were going through saying that Gimmer and Ken hate him. Ken being, if I remember correct, the guy from KC. He works for, what's the name of the company? Why am I blanking on their name? BTS. If I remember correctly. Beyond the Summit. My computer's lagging. I'm just making sure that I'm not, Vish. I'm trying to see if I can find it. Anyways, I'm going to go up under that assumption. So saying that VGBC and BTS hate you is what this is pretty much saying. And that they're spreading shit about some of his actions. So these are notes that he's taking, not direct quotes. And I think that's also an important thing to keep in mind with statements like this, is that not all the information that we have is actually based on what actually happened, but these are notes. It's good to take note of that.
Currently, I ask you to read the full statement before coming to any conclusions and do not, under any circumstances, use information here to harass any person S.
That's
This
what we are
statement will be
doing.
broken down as follows. Intro SWT, Beyond the Summit to Strong Arming in the First 3 Weeks Nintendo Conclusion. Intro. I'm sorry this took me so long to write. Please consider that SWT leadership did not release a statement until a week after hearing from Nintendo. These things take time to properly construct. I know people have been waiting to hear from me, but between being blindsided by SWT's 2022 shutdown, extreme harassment, death threats, and fleeing my own home due to doxing, it's been hard to focus. I would never wish this on anyone, as I'm currently writing this after filing a third police report.
I think this goes without saying. Don't harass people. You can be angry with them. Even I'm like partially guilty of this. I said like, where are you at on Twitter, which like is the most milquetoast angry thing I could have done. But harassing people is never the answer. I don't think what I did was harassment, but I'm just saying as a general thing, don't harass people regardless of what they do.
And intro. I'm sorry this took me so long to write.
Skip.
These things.
Skip.
I'd like to particularly apologize to my team and to Panda as a whole for my initial response. I have no excuses. I froze up. I had panic attacks for the first time in my life and I was paralyzed for the first few days. I let our message go through multiple PR firms instead of crafting it myself. I listened to them telling me not to step down despite my team asking. My hesitation to act, step up and fight back didn't just hurt me, it hurt you all. I hope you all know how deeply you matter to me, and that I would never want anything like this to happen to anyone I care about.
There was a lot of things saying that like Panda copy and pasted Nintendo's statement. So hearing that this initial statement came from a PR firm makes a ton of sense because Nintendo's also came from a PR firm, right? They're trained the same way. Their job is to do the exact same thing, negate damage. And I think at some part, this part, I listened to them telling me not to step down despite my team asking. When you quit a company, the way I understand it is that's also admitting defeat. If Dr. Allen were to immediately have left Panda, they're admitting to everything. But him trying to stay is the company trying to save face, because if he did leave, which he ended up doing, it creates a PR nightmare for the company. But that was inevitable in this situation, right? Because you either have Dr. Allen leave, and at least some grace is left up, and the company kind of has a better reputation, but you also, are somewhat admitting defeat in some ways. So one would have responded better for a company, but I think makes less sense from a business standpoint. So I can at least understand where he's coming from thus far about this particular part, about listening to them, the PR team telling him not to step down, and he just listening because he's froze up, doesn't know what to do. Their job is to handle these situations, not his. So obviously he's going to feel some type of way.
This is the most transparent public statement in my life.
Unnecessary, but okay.
SWT/VGBC. Some context. Our negotiations with Nintendo started in 2018 and ramped up in 2019. Getting to the Panda Cup was a long process with plenty of late nights and dozens of iterations.
This timeline. Let's think timeline. That would have been pre-COVID, right? 2018 is pre-COVID. Oh, it started in 20... I'm so fucking stupid. I'm sorry. I'm so dumb. Yeah, 2018 is when I graduated. That's crazy that this has been going on that long. So that means it started in 2018, ramped up 2019 for a circuit that ended up not happening till 2022. Bit weird. I don't quite understand. But I'm guessing that this is going to go over a bit more of what that process looks like.
My hesitation to act, step up and fight back didn't just hurt. This is SWT. Some context. Our negotiations with Nintendo started in 2018 and ramped up in 2019. Getting to the Panda Cup was a long process with plenty of late nights and dozens of iterations. Back in October 2019, I called Justin, owner of Super Smash Con, to talk about Panda Cup negotiations. Justin was one of the first twos I ever reached out to about the negotiations because I respected him. I told him that it seemed like Nintendo was interested in giving Panda a circuit license and that SSC is an incredible event that I think could become the biggest part of it all. It was a pretty benign conversation. 3 months later I heard that VGBC is starting something called the Smash World Tour and discovered Justin was a part of founding it. They never talked to Nintendo.
So if this started 3 months later from when? Because they're giving multiple year timelines here. Started in 2018, ramped up 2019 for a circuit that wouldn't happen until 2022. So this happened in 2019, 2018, 2020, 2022, post-COVID, pre-COVID. Important detail that I think changes what this means. Because how long did it take for the Smash World Tour to begin starting? Longer than that, right? Because that was a year COVID started, so that would have been 2020. So that would have been around that 2019 time frame. I imagine, based on the context we have. That means this conversation happened 2019. We never talked to Nintendo about it. That would hold up, because the Smash World Tour statement would be talking about this year's circuit, not the previous year's circuit. Okay.
To Nintendo about it. Nintendo caught wind before launch and SWT leadership was explicitly told to wait until they have approval to announce the SWT in 2020.
Right.
Justin and VGBC knew this and launched anyway, aware of the consequences. The SWT was the perfect gambit for VGBC. Information came to us from an anonymous source all the way back in 2020. VGBC was feeling pushed out of the community from losing so much ground to BTS. They wanted something of their own, and so they came up with the SW.
I have an issue with this. When you make a claim like this, you are not the person who decides these things. This is Gimmer and whoever else is involved with the VGBC team. This is also between BTS and whoever's involved in BTS. Dr. Allen's not directly affiliated with either of those groups, so him making this claim is a little bit weird. He has no evidence that this is... he has no substantial evidence to prove that this part of it is true, so it's weird to include it. That's trying to form a narrative to make your story make more sense, which I'm not a huge fan of.
SWT Gambit. 1. SWT doesn't get shut down. VGBC gets their own circuit without the years of negotiation with Nintendo. 2. SWT uses the threat of social media backlash against Nintendo to pressure Nintendo into giving them a license. 3. SWT gets shut down by Nintendo, and now VGBC is the martyr of the community due to Nintendo. Then the community will rally behind their other events to support them.
Another problem I have with this is that this makes sense from VGBC's standpoint. Nintendo has historically been very negative towards the Smash community, so why they've ran majors in the past without negotiations with Nintendo. They've ran large-scale events worth large pots. So is BTS, so is Panda, without Nintendo's approval. So being able to claim that it's a martyr game, that's how everything in the Smash community goes. I don't think it's fair to make the assessment that Smash World Tour was doing this when that's kind of been the norm for the Smash community for years, and it's weird to expect them, I guess given the context that Nintendo explicitly asked them to try and get a circuit and they went on without it, could justify his statement right now, Dr. Allen's statement, given that they were told to wait. But still, I think I could see their understanding from VGBC's side.
It's pretty straightforward logic. VGBC wins no matter what. VGBC also knew that Nintendo has never issued a license to any event with the name Smash in it, nor have they ever licensed a circuit before. VGBC knew both of these and launched the Smash World Tour anyways. To recap, SWT leadership had intimate knowledge that Nintendo was working on an officially licensed circuit with Panda months before launching. They were told to wait for approval but announced anyways, and knowingly did multiple things that has prevented Nintendo from issuing licenses to events before. Fast forward to 2022, when SWT leadership said they were having positive talks with Nintendo. I entirely believe they were chatting with Nintendo, and I'm sure that Nintendo's statement saying they evaluated SWT for a partnership is true. And I'm sure Nintendo used very purposeful language when talking to SWT leadership that things are possible because anything is possible until the evaluation is complete. Another note is that SWT leadership knew roughly how long these sorts of licenses realistically take. Between the time of me speaking to Justin in 2019 to 2021 when Panda's partnership with Nintendo of America was announced, they knew that the process to get an officially licensed circuit should take at least 3 years.
Fair? Maybe. Again, it's another thing where we've historically ran things without Nintendo, so expecting us to need Nintendo for circuit is really interesting. It's not like we're receiving funding from Nintendo. It's not like we gain anything from Nintendo. We don't lose anything from Nintendo. We are strictly running our own thing in our own community that's historically been fine. But, I don't know. I guess we keep seeing.
3 years. And that is how long an exclusively North America circuit took to get off the ground. Yet they were surprised when they were told a license for a worldwide circuit wasn't issued. Within a year, it doesn't add up. As for the SWTC 2022 event cancellation, I do not know why.
Highlighted part is it was around this time as well, in late January, when we submitted our license application for 2022 after working with Nintendo to best meet their specifications. Okay.
Why SWT leadership decided to shut the event down. I know Nintendo corroborated to me on several occasions the same thing they said in their public statement, that they verbally told SWT leadership that they would take no action to shut down SWTC 2022. And I know Nintendo was genuinely surprised behind closed doors when they found out what SWT leadership did to their own event. I have no doubts in my mind that Nintendo is telling the truth about what they verbally told SWT leadership. I've been recently informed that the main hotel in San Antonio listed in the SWT Discord did not have any pre-existing block or any expectation of large groups this weekend. There was no block cancelled, it simply never existed. Here is a big question.
This is interesting. One, can the hotels legally give out that information? And if not, it totally makes sense that they just be like, oh yeah, nothing was ever booked there. So if they do or do not have evidence of that is interesting. Because what this is trying to say is that it was all staged to make Nintendo look bad, which is a very large claim against a very well-reported company within the Smash community.
For you, why now? Why did they need and apply for a Nintendo license specifically for SWTC 2022? The SWT leadership team ran quite a few events in 2021, including their championship, without a license. VGBC has run several glitch events, Double Down, Apex, and Pound, all in 2022 without a license for any of them. So why does their $250,000 prize pool event, with a single sponsor in the middle of cutbacks, that ran unlicensed last year, need a Nintendo license this year? I know sponsors value a Nintendo license highly, and by getting more sponsors, events become more financially sustainable.
I think this is blatantly not listening to the statement made. They canceled Smash World Tour out of fear of being canceled by Nintendo. Just because because they were saying, like, without a license, you can't run an event. And they say, if we don't have an event, or if we don't have a license, can we run this event? Then it's no. You need to have the Nintendo thing. So, he doesn't directly say that that statement was false by Smash World Tour. He just blatantly ignores it, which is a little weird. We know the reason why they canceled. He's saying, why do they need to apply for a Nintendo license? This part. They literally explained that. They said, because Nintendo apparently said, according to their own statement, that Nintendo was requiring a license in order to host events without being taken down, which is historically, Nintendo can shut down whatever event they want. That's why Big House shut down. Mind you, Big House, I believe, was ran by VGBC. Hosted by Juggle Guy. Big House series has historically been ran by video game VGBC. Anything mention of that? Let's just do this. YouTube.com. Because I believe that there's a pretty direct line of evidence here. Whenever YouTube decides to load. The Big House. Oh, my computer's chugging right now. Beyond the Summit hosted. Okay. Maybe I'm wrong then. So it's a Summit event in the past. Why now? Why did they need to apply for a Nintendo license specifically for Smash World Tour Championship? This is all, like, blatantly ignoring their own statement. I don't like this. Let's keep going.
Sustainable, since they were in communication with Nintendo and were verbally told SWTC 2022 could continue. If they were confused with the mixed messages from the email versus verbal conversation, then why didn't they just ask for clarification? Just shoot an email back. Nintendo reps work hard. I guarantee you they'd read and respond.
I need to reread, hold on. I don't like this either. Why didn't they just ask for clarification? They did. That's when the quote that we got was that those times are over. Quote, that's the clarification. They strictly asked for clarification if they needed to run emails. So it isn't about mixed messages, because they did ask for clarification, which is what you're saying they didn't do. They clearly state in their own statement that there was somebody asked Nintendo, and the rep from Nintendo said, those times are over, you now need a license for running events. I'm not a huge fan of that.
Respond to the email over the holiday weekend, as they have for others. I promise you that they would have reiterated that while they could not officially approve of the event or issue a license, that they would not take action against it. I'd like to post a statement here given all of this evidence.
Let me go over this one more time. I promise that you would have... Here it is, that while we could not officially approve of the event or issue a license, that they would not take action against it. But they can say that, and then you try to run the event, and then you get in legal trouble. That's the problem. Is that you can take somebody's word, but that does not prevent you from legal action. Unless you get something in writing from Nintendo saying that they will not sue you, but at that point, why not just give you a license?
Evidence I've linked together. SWT leadership, Justin and VGBC, absolutely knew from the beginning there was a snowball's chance of getting a license agreement, and from the moment they launched SWT in 2020 they were prepared to get shut down. There are far too many inconsistencies for their statement and their total surprise to be accurate, given the knowledge they had beforehand. I do not know if they ever planned to run SWTC 2022. I do not know how they were paying for it, or what revenue they expected to make back on it to make the expenses worth it. I am making no claims that they did not intend on running SWTC 2022. I am simply pointing out their own words and available information for the many, many different inconsistencies behind the curtain. One question for you, Gimmer: is partnering with Nintendo really that important to you?
Again, they said in their own statement that Nintendo is taking actions on events that aren't licensed. Now, we have not seen that be executed, but we have historically in the past. Remember when Big House got shut down? Because they were running Slippy for their event, Nintendo shut it down. Which is why Ludwig had to run the LACS for charities, so Nintendo couldn't shut it down. So... oh, this is... okay. But... I have a big problem with this. This is inconsistent with, like, it's ignoring the initial statement, I feel like.
You sacrificed PM, now your championship event, and you want to keep trying, to the public.
Also, saying that they sacrificed PM is really weird. Because from what I understand is that Nintendo shut down PM. They said they were no longer able to work on it because Nintendo was, like, getting pretty vocal about taking legal action unless the team shut down. So saying that they sacrificed PM is interesting.
The public. You were lied to, and your goodwill is being both weaponized and abused. SWT leadership juxtaposed their entire relationship with Nintendo against actions they claim I took. Actions, which by the way, are completely irrelevant to them getting shut down or Nintendo's behavior. How is me telling twos that SWT would most likely not receive a license agreement prove any sort of action undermining SWT's relationship with Nintendo? How did hundreds of thousands of people make my life a living hell for a week over a false equivalency? Let me...
The problem I have with that... this isn't what we have statements of you saying. How is me telling TOs that it would most likely not receive a license agreement? That's not what you said. What we know that you said was that it'd be a shame if you got shut down, being very condescending with that towards TOs and pressuring them to join your circuit, which is a problem. You going through to events and saying, I don't know, I feel like this isn't your responsibility. Right or wrong, not your responsibility.
Let me say this here for the third time. Both Panda and I, as the former CEO, have done absolutely nothing to harm SWT in any way, nor sabotage any SWT business efforts, license efforts, or otherwise. Period. From the April 14, 2022 screenshot shared at the top of this document.
So I was able to, same thing, his fears, and explain that I am not and have not threatened to kill events. I also told him I am not threatened by Smash World Tour and have no reason to want to kill them. Explained that Nintendo can't license events on an unlicensed circuit, being the real reason why our circuit is exclusive. So I was not able to his fears and explain that I'm no longer threatened to kill events. Oh, this is the exact same thing.
Document. I've defended VGBC behind closed doors more times than I can count. I've done entire impromptu presentations to Nintendo about VGBC's importance to the community, their history in the scene, and the good things they've done, explaining that they're worth working with. When people told me about the terrible things the VGBC team were saying behind my back about me throughout the year, I looked at those people and told them I have no ill will towards anyone at VGBC or SWT. I consider Justin, Gimr, and a puzzle equal peers and hope to work together in the future. I even had been asking Nintendo for months to please consider issuing a license to VGBC. I told a countless number of people that we didn't feel SWT was a competitor to the Panda Cup. SWT had their own product, which was fantastic, I would always add, and we have a completely different one. They're doing their own thing and we're doing ours, and that I wish them the best of luck. This became one of my set phrases I repeated meeting after meeting. The exclusivity of the Panda Cup was because Nintendo originally couldn't license events that were on an unlicensed circuit, and that we could only work with licensed events. We were able to get this rule lifted 6 weeks into the original Panda Cup negotiations, and events on SWT were able to receive a license agreement.
That's fair. Totally fair from them to say this part. Mainly because the way this looks compared to what happens looks awful for you. I'm totally willing to see this being true. This being the reasons why they did it and how it looks to the community obviously looks bad, but they had reasons for it. I can totally understand this part.
Agreement. Our players asked if it's okay for them to go to SWT events, and we encouraged them to go. Our own player won SWTC 2021. Why would I want it cancelled? I even encouraged some events to join SWT because it might help their attendance. I thought SWT was great for the community and did things that the Panda Cup, a North American circuit, couldn't do. Plus the storylines of the SWTC and finale ending the year out back to back. Burnout aside, that was going to be hype. In terms of having prior knowledge of SWTC 2022's shutdown, we moved our finale to the weekend before Christmas, a historically terrible date for travel and events, because SWT took our finale date after we placed a hold for the date on the Smash calendar. We moved for them. If we really went to shut them down, knowing for sure that there would be no SWT 2022, then why would we move to a worse date? It doesn't make sense.
So the email here, transcript. Hey, Redacted. Lots of feedback on this. We would like to prioritize pursuing a step where the Sunday finals are in the theater or arena. Please note that December is currently a mess of dates. Beyond the Summit has changed the date for main stage the first weekend of December. Now the second weekend of December has the Smash World Tour Championships event. I think we should pursue the third weekend of December. And this was sent February 26, 2022. Holds up. Great.
Makes sense. Now in terms of motive, we have known
hold on, there's
since
more
day-
receipts. Okay. So we had a Panda Invitational, no date given for a long time. BTS asked for December weekend 2 for Smash Summit in November. When we received full details of their 2022 roadmap on December 11th, Panda booked weekend 3. Panda booked weekend 1 on January 14th. World Tour booked weekends 1 and 2 on January 21st. We smelled trouble and tried to get all 3 parties to deconflict December. Smash Summit and Main Stage moved to their present slots on February 9th to resolve the Miami conflict. Smash World Tour goes down in one weekend 2. Link was a bit confused as to whether or not you still had 2 events, but figured it out. I don't know why Main Stage was in on December. Why would he handled that part of it? Question here is probably, why did Main Stage need that weekend? I assume it was the same venue issue. I feel like this statement's weird. Because I feel like this is reading into something for no reason.
Day 1 that the biggest risk to the Panda Cup would be if the SWT gets shut down. We've known if that ever happened then Panda would be caught in the explosion as a bystander, simply due to our partnership with Nintendo. Panda Cup has had incredible momentum this year with 5 major sponsors in 5 months, nearly every major NA Smash tournament joining the circuit from the time we launched, and successful metrics all around. With everything going this well for us, then why would I want SWT to be shut down when I knew that would be the biggest risk and harm to the Panda Cup? Again,
Totally fair. 100% fair. It didn't make sense. Never made sense. That's why everybody feels super blindsided right now.
Again, it makes no sense. I do not have any theories as to why SWT's leadership team decided to drag me personally in their statement. I do not know why they tried to create a false equivalency to convince the public I had anything to do with their situation. I do not know why they gave a massive platform to lies, rumors, hearsay, misunderstandings, or misconstrued statements about me. I do not know if they think I actually had anything to do with their denial of license, though I sincerely doubt they do, and I do not know why everyone believed them. One thing I do know is, the SWT leadership team stood to gain the most out of anyone by tarnishing Panda's reputation and dragging the Panda Cup down. To SWT leadership, Justin, Gimmer, and Apostle, you and your team have without a doubt played a critical role in the development and growth of the Smash community over the years. No one can ever take that away from you. But you have caused damage to hundreds of people in or associated with Panda, damage to me, damage to your own people, extreme harassment of my family and friends without any shred of remorse. To parties completely irrelevant to what happened. This is the last thing I have to say to you, likely for the rest of our lives. You do not and will never deserve the position of community dominance that you keep clawing for. I hope it was worth it to you. Beyond the summer. Sidebar, I've been told that someone named LD is claiming I said things. I don't know who LD is, nor do I care. As far as I'm aware, I've never talked to them, never seen them, and never met them in my life. Here is the background of my two whole personal interactions this year with BTS, or more specifically with one of the most unsavory individuals I've ever had the displeasure of interacting with, Ken Chen aka
Oh shit.
In 2022, when we first talked to a few twos with our packages, the original version 1 design of the Panda Cup backend featured a concept where we would provide unique co-streams of some events, or be the main stream, depending on the event along with the packages we offered. We wanted to start building a channel that can be a destination for purely competitive Smash in the future. Some early twos said they were in, depending on what BTS said, as they already had an arrangement with them. I said no problem. I was confident that I could figure out some sort of win-win solution that helps BTS and us at the same time. SWT claims that I targeted BTS events that already had deals made, wanting to poach the broadcast rights from BTS. They claimed that I wanted them for free, and directly threatened BTS with Nintendo action if they did not comply. So let's talk about that. First of all, it's not a coincidence that most of the first few events I reached out to had deals with BTS. They were some of the biggest events of the year. Of course they were streaming on BTS, but I didn't even know who they were with when I first reached out. Here is a screenshot of me asking some of the earliest twos.
Hey guys, did you say you signed a contract with BTS for LTC and Riptide for 2022? Alan, yes, I did sign a contract with BTS for Low Tide City 2022. Right after you told us there was not going to be a Panda Cup a couple of months ago.
He is referring to the Omicron surge delaying the Panda Cup to an indeterminate start date. On to the initial conversation with BTS, where I met with Ken Chen. And in this first meeting he was joined by one other person. I went into the conversation with Ken loaded with ideas, around 4 to 5, of different ways we could accomplish our goals while collaborating with BTS, ranging from making a jointly owned channel where the revenue went to BTS, to doing a side stream where we give them all the revenue from our channel. We wanted to build a circuit that could be collaborative alongside them wherever they were, and why wouldn't I? BTS is a pillar of the community and sets new standards for high quality production in Smash all the time. So if we could forge a relationship that accomplished both of our goals, then we'd both stand to win. I was doing my best to be cooperative, collaborative, and receptive to their feedback and thoughts. The response I got, unfortunately, was the exact opposite. I was met with, in the simplest terms, stonewalling by Ken. Rejection after rejection. No other ideas or possibilities brought up. Nothing I could say was possible, and there were no alternatives suggested. Just Ken raising his voice at me and being mad that I would even dare to suggest half the things I did. To say the least, it was a frustrating call, but I didn't give up and still wanted to figure out a way to work with them. Even brainstorming with Nintendo about different variations of working with BTS before we had our second call.
I'll have to read them and see, but sure. Alright, I'll shoot it over. They're pretty basic catch-all NDAs. Hey Ken, so I put my head together with Nintendo over the weekend and we were trying to figure some things out that could work. But they did mention the broadcast rights here are a gray area and wanted to get in touch with you, all while they look at it. I shot him your email. Anything else I should send as well? No, that's great. Happy to talk with them. Talk to them. Also, please shoot me over that quote for a remote analyst desk when you have a moment. That'd be very helpful. We're figuring out different ways to possibly work with y'all. Let me know if there's other services BTS provides that we should know about as well. We'll add it to the list. Seems good.
Call. From SWT's statement. Does my conversation with Ken...
More receipts. BTS had very little motivation to give up the broadcast rights for free. After BTS held firm, the CEO of Panda warned they would get Nintendo directly involved, putting broadcast rights for all tournaments in jeopardy. Little bit sus, because this doesn't seem like it leads to that. Maybe down, because I think this is a scroll bar and it's not at the bottom. So I'm wondering if some of the things that happened since then include this statement. But a little weird on BTS's end. I think Alan's totally in the right here.
Ken, after our first call, sound like I was threatening to have Nintendo attack them or get free broadcasting rights. Also, as you can see, I directly connected Ken to Nintendo as well. Nintendo is not a weapon I can wield. They take their own actions and are their own company. Why people would think that a multi-trillion-dollar global company would jump when I snap my fingers, I have no idea. Going into the second conversation with Ken, I had some new ideas. One of my ideas required me talking to Twitch, prompting Ken to explode at me for suggesting I would talk to Twitch, and I had to reassure him I wouldn't do that without permission. A promise I kept. Another idea I had was to enter a multi-year agreement where we'd hire BTS to be our official remote analyst desk at every single stream we did in exchange for being able to stream 3 events this year, but that too was rejected. Basically, I presented a handful of new ideas that were designed to give BTS additional short and long-term revenue. I was met with more stonewalling, more obtuseness, more of Ken's yelling at me.
I think the interesting thing about that part of it is I could see the Panda not wanting to give up rights coming from this part of it. Him trying to come up, but I think the way it got phrased in the Smash World Tour's statement really paints a negative picture, when it otherwise seems like something else was happening here. Thank you, Poopy Butt, for the input.
Me. Between the two calls, a legal issue was flagged by someone else that had, and currently still has, significant implications for the revenue of most major events in the community. And by adamantly refusing to do anything with any other third party, not just us, in any way, shape or form, Ken would be forcing scrutiny of this legal issue to escalate. I was desperate to make that not happen. Escalation is devastating for our entire community. I begged Ken in the middle of the second call, please can we figure out some way of working together even a little so we can stop that can of worms from opening. I was asking him for his help, for his cooperation. Ken's response. He yelled, let IT happen, let the can of worms open, actively embracing the idea of legal trouble that could only end badly for the community. He was openly saying I dare you when it wasn't in my control, which I made clear this was not in my hands. Ken was willing to jeopardize the entire Smash community with reckless abandon, and it would have happened had I not figured out how to stop the escalation without him. Given what I've seen of his character and heard about his reputation in other communities, this type of behavior from Ken was not unusual.
I don't like this. To put it very bluntly, I don't enjoy this part of the statement. I think this entire paragraph demonstrates a conflict between two different companies with two different interests. BTS very clearly did not want to work with Panda, and specifically Nintendo, probably due to history. Ken was being probably a little bit stonewally because of that history and not wanting to be involved. I think Alan had good intentions, but I think he was a bit too aggressive. But saying that Ken is willing to jeopardize the entire Smash community, and then that this type of behavior from Ken is not unusual, are both very strong things to say when you're trying to get grace from the community. I can understand why, after being in his position, he would want to kind of be a dick back. But I think that this creates conflict that, in a situation that probably could have been handled a bit more maturely, privately. I think going public, both from Smash World Tour and Dr. Allen's way, I think this entire section is something that could have been handled privately, and painting the picture that Ken is the bad guy or Dr. Allen is the bad guy is not productive in any way.
Unusual. And let me be crystal clear, I am not expanding on the legal issue because even though I'm leaving, I still don't want to hurt the community. Smash doesn't deserve that. That's
okay, so there's a new over Slack, which is like a professional Discord, the best way I can explain it. It's a chat that's used by business owners to talk within a company. Yeah, well, Ken 100% would rather watch the world burn than give up the cash cow he has. Yep. Ken would essentially cause the world to burn because of what he's doing. We'll cross that bridge later, etc. Yep, but if that happens, it's because of Ken, not us. No, it will be because of us. Ken can easily convince events that with no evidence of such whatsoever. So he's kind of painting more of the picture that Again, these are statements that didn't need to exist. You can't claim that, what Smash World Tour's statement said against you is unfair and then claim that this is fair. You're trying to get grace back from the community, targeting people who are very well respected within the community, like Ken, who works really closely with, mind you, 3 of the people that live in the Ludwig house are former BTS employees and worked very closely with Ken, close friends with Ken. That has a huge amount of pull for this community. So this is not a great fight to pick if you're trying to get grace in the community. Which, mind you, he says he's leaving anyway, so maybe he doesn't want that grace. But I think when you're trying to defend your event, like for a company that you want to see succeed, and wanting to see the Smash community succeed, it's a little bit weird to target somebody with that much rapport.
Second call was perhaps one of the most frustrating conversations I've had, where every attempt at collaboration or strategizing was met with stonewalling, refusal, or outright hostility. The only time I raised my voice, I think that may have been the first time I've done so in a business call, was in this conversation where I yelled something to the effect of, "Why won't you work with me?" i.e., work to brainstorm a collaborative strategy. I raised my voice at that time, regret doing it, and own up to the fact that I did. Near the end of that hour-and-a-half call, Ken finally reveals to me that they have already sold sponsorships across primarily BTS streams in 2022, which I later found out was Papa John's, and that's why none of the concepts I put forward worked, because it may impact that sponsor deal. Despite him yelling at me and treating me incredibly poorly for the entire discussion, I actually ended the call by thanking him for his time and for helping me understand his perspective better. The way he ends, "You were kind of hostile." I believe I was too shocked to even retort. Also, SWT leadership claims that I threatened to shut down BTS 2023 operations. I believe they were referring to this particular interaction in that second call that I remember distinctly because of how pedantic and bizarre it was.
Here we go. So this is a quote that I'm guessing is somewhat summarized the actual event. So let's get to take a look at this and see. Also of note, in the second call with Ken, I had come up with the idea of giving them a multi-year deal as an official analyst desk done remotely of Panda Cup, so that every single stream we do, we'd hire them for $40,000, large sum of money for the Smash community. I recall we had an exchange that sounded something like this. Why don't you offer your deal to events for 2023? It's stupid good, they'll all take it. Hell, even we'd consider it because it's so good, just leave events in 2022 alone. Me, we could do that, sure, but let me clarify something to you. According to you, every event we offer this to in 2023 will sign with us, right? Right? Okay, so in this hypothetical situation where they all sign with us next year, then BTS would be making less revenue in 2023 and possibly 2024 if we keep this up, right? Yeah. So if BTS took a multi-year contract as the analyst desk of the Panda Cup starting in 2022, BTS would make more money than if they streamed every event in 2022. Probably, yeah. So why doesn't making more money work for you? Because that's not what we want. Which, in BTS's defense, that is also their call. They wanted events to be left alone. They were getting their events left alone. I think that's a totally fair statement from Ken. I think this is fair from both parties.
Following that call with Ken, I brainstormed for days to figure out any way I could prevent escalating that legal issue any further until I finally figured it out. Change everything we've been doing up to this point. I worked on incorporating feedback from TOOS and BTS, and spent a full 2 weeks completely reorganizing the back end of the Panda Cup into version 2, doing financial modeling, getting approvals, and iterating on it. This completely new system was designed for 2 main purposes: to allow an option for events to have as much freedom as possible, which was a common thread in our early conversations with TOOS, to not interfere with or harm existing business relationships with BTS.
Fair.
And now that I've figured out how to avoid harming BTS or overlapping with them in any way, I was able to successfully stop the legal issue from escalating by stepping around them. The legal issue is still there, just won't be the center of attention for a long time, or ever, hopefully. Plus the added bonus was that the new version fit even easier into the current Smash ecosystem. So I wanted to invite BTS Mainstage onto the Panda Cup and to take that opportunity to apologize for the second call being so rough, to give any additional clarity for my words, and to show them how we redesigned the Panda Cup based on their feedback in the calls. I believe I made at least 4 attempts to reach out to various members of BTS in order to have that discussion. I did not hear back from them.
Given that they had conflicts, it makes sense that BTS wouldn't want to talk with them anymore. But I do think it's also good on Alan for reaching out and trying to mend that former conflict. And I could see how that could get misconstrued for Smash World Tour's initial response, especially with talking to BTS. So I think this all makes sense. But I think pinning it on BTS is also a little bit unfair. They are a business, welcome to their own opinions. I think that we should be giving them that freedom.
Here are some screenshots of me discussing.
Oh, screenshots. Here we go. Hey Ken, just figuring out some stuff on your end. It looks like main stage may be possible for the Panda Cup now. Let me know if you'd be interested in having that conversation about what that could look like, and I'll shoot you out the detailed documentation for you to read over. That'd be great to have you all on board. Hey Ken, want to check back on this? We know we'd love to work with you guys in some capacity, and the minor package was designed to hopefully allow complete freedom on your end with minimal intervention on our end, plus still helping financially. For the best of both worlds, let me know if you have any interest. Main stage being the final event on the Panda Cup this year would be really cool. Both Blank and I feel that way at least. Hi, sorry for the calendar mix-up. We had a conversation with CACT today. CACT is a Pacific Northwest organizer, I believe, specifically for Melee, if I'm correct. And let them know that the date swap scenario would work best with us. But it seems like we each believed that the other talked to you guys about it. Well, just wanted to clarify whether that was still an option for you. Well, I figure some wires got crossed. It's most certainly an option on the table for us, and we'd like to explore more potential venues. And I'd emphasize not taking that first weekend. We'll do my best. Hey, Mikey. So long since we last chatted. Hope you're the right person to go to about this, since I've seen you super active in the community about BTS Smash events recently. We've been super hard at work with Nintendo to open things up for the Panda Cup as simple and seamless as possible for events to join the circuit quickly and easily without all the hassle from before. Now that things are much more straightforward, we were hoping to see if BTS would be open to main stage joining the Panda Cup. We'd love to have a chat and go over what that entails if you have the time. Like I said, it's super easy process now, and I think we have ample time to help y'all promote the heck out of it. By the way, so sorry I sent this yesterday. I had no idea Summit voting was ending. Hey Mikey, amazing work with Summit this last weekend. It was a great show. I wanted to bump this up. Love to work with y'all in this year. Got ghosted every single time. Will you read this for this one? Any sort of deal where there aren't mainstream is a no. I offered a multi-year third-party production deal with them, and even they straight said no and didn't want the money. They would not sell us the rebroadcast rights because there's no way our broadcast could be made so differently as to a different product than the BTS mainstream. They only sell rebroadcast rights to streams that won't compete with theirs, like alternate language or streamers like Ludwig. So like Ludwig can get restreaming rights, not Panda, because they're a competing organization, if I'm understanding that correctly, which is fair. BTS has an overarching strategy within the Smash community that is incongruous with any strategy we put forward. There is no deal we can make with them that will make them happy unless we are to stream for these events in 2022. They also refuse to discuss hypothetical situations. They do not care what happens in 2023. Again, that is their choice, not Dr. Allen's. So I don't think that should be dwelled on too much.
Discussing the second call with Ken with a colleague. Note though, we did end up working with BTS multiple times this year. For example, at a Panda Cup event where Panda was in charge of the broadcast, we completed their sponsor deliverables for Papa John's to ensure the sponsorship was executed correctly. The broadcast team did everything they needed for the event to get paid in full. To be on the summit, while my intention had no malice or ill intent in my conversation with Ken, perception is what truly matters. I will own up to that publicly, and I truly apologize to the BTS staff, except Ken, that my conversation with Ken was perceived in the manner it was. I wish you accepted any of my multiple attempts to make peace, explain myself, or apologize, but I hope you now understand that I have not now nor ever had any intent of harming you or switching Nintendo on you. Additionally, after we heard some wild rumors spreading from my one-on-one conversation with Ken, we did everything we could to dispel the rumors, and we internally decided to always speak with twos in groups of 3 to make sure we can corroborate anything said in case of misconceptions or misunderstandings. That has been our procedure for the last 4 to 5 months.
Really unfortunate that didn't continue. Really unfortunate. Because, or at least that didn't come before. I wish that was more of a preventative measure when you're working with a company like Nintendo, because as Dr. Allen's kind of already stating here, Dr. Allen's in a very dangerous situation because he's working so close with Nintendo, so any action that Nintendo is responsible for can also fall back onto him, which is really important because BTS and VGBC have the option to leverage that. And until now, there's no evidence that they did do that, but we're seeing within the statement that Dr. Allen's claiming that they're maybe using that leverage to create some situations. A lot of the conversations I've seen so far with BTS seem like they could have been handled a bit differently than how they're currently being handled. And I wish that these things were handled more privately, but I'm guessing that if the affiliated parties do not want to have conversations with Dr. Allen given the shutdown, I think that's also understandable, and I think, I guess you do have to come forward with a statement, trying to save your own grace and make sure that your family's safe if you're getting death threats. So, I wish this was the norm, the groups of 3, when talking with TOs and whatnot in organizations, because I think more of this could have been prevented. But, in terms of things I don't like, this. Targeting Ken. Like I said, Ken is still majority shareholder of, like, well-meaned rapport within the community is what I'm trying to say. Ken is a very well-respected person. He brought BTS into the Smash scene and made major changes that had huge effects in the community. He works very closely with crews that are affiliated with Ludwig, who has a huge amount of influence over the Smash community. Targeting him in a statement that is trying to save grace is not, in my opinion, a great idea, regardless of how you actually feel. I think this is something that you can feel, but it's not something that needs to be publicly said. In teaching, we call that a social filter, which is totally a term that can be used elsewhere in life. I'm just saying that that's what we refer to.
Months now. However, let me also say this publicly. Along with SWT, BTS stands to gain quite a bit by taking Panda and the Panda Cup down, especially after you lost your contract with Dota. Many major...
This is also unnecessary. You don't need this. This is a jab. You do not need jabs. You're trying to save face. You're trying to build up your own rapport. Back after it got tarnished with the Nintendo cancellation, you do not need to go into how BTS can leverage it and also talk about their major losses within this year, about how they can make financial gain from this.
Major events in 2023 that are normally streaming on BTS have already confirmed to us that they'd stream on Panda's channels because the package we offered was better for them with upfront guaranteed sponsorships, a position we were pushed into by Ken's refusal to collaborate or work together from day one. BTS was standing to lose a lot of money next year from community streams, and you knew that. Plus, with Panda's sales team landing deals in every major category, you wouldn't be able to sell against events again next year because the categories will have been filled first. Don't pretend for a second like you were a casual outside observer of the whole situation. One more thing. I looked the other way when I heard Ken was trying to get twos to turn on us. I turned the other cheek when I found out BTS was threatening to pull Papa John's sponsorship from events that worked with us. A Papa John's sponsorship which, by the way, Nintendo never had any issues with. And despite all of that, I was still trying to work with you, extending olive branch after olive branch. And for what? For BTS's current leadership, who again I have never met or spoken to, publicly condemning me and speaking in terms like they were personally involved. You could have had a single, civilized, adult conversation with me, and Ken...
100% agree. I think that before, I'm guessing the guy, the LD guy that he was mentioning earlier is the new owner of BTS, since Ken left earlier this year. I think wanting an adult civilized conversation, when he did try to initiate those things, maybe not with the new person, but at least with Ken, I think when you're going to make claims like that, I think things like this should happen more often. Because if this were handled more privately, we wouldn't be in the situation where we are, where it's a he said, she said situation, and everyone's pointing fingers, and a huge amount of money that could have gone towards the community is now up in the air, in flames, and nobody gets it now.
Ken. Even though he's no longer with BTS, he's still trying to poison the well from afar. I've been told he tweeted that Panda's NDAs are about real estate and don't provide any protection. Turns out, after double-checking specifically Ken's NDA with multiple lawyers, he just didn't read past the first line. The NDA is standard, perfectly normal, and legally sound. Ken has been encouraging people to violate a solid NDA, without harming himself in any way. Encouraging people to break NDA is irresponsible and reckless.
Fair. Oh boy, this is gonna be a fun thing to read. Is general overrode NDA that deals with real property as well as IP and other intangible property. The definition of what confidential information includes is: confidential information specifically includes any information labeled confidential or otherwise places in the file, share in or data, room controlled and maintained by a disclosing party or disclosing party's agents, into which receiving party is granted access. Confidential information further includes, without limitations, corporate... this is all corporate bullshit that you don't need to go into. Essentially, this is what a standard NDA looks like. If that is something that is interesting to you, you are more than welcome to pause the video at this point and read through it. I am not going to because I have a rough idea of what a standard NDA is, and it's just a waste of your time and a waste of mine.
Reckless. Ken has been both publicly and privately turning people against Panda for months.
It's crazy to think that the official competition for a game should not be run through a team org, let alone someone that is actually competing in the event itself. Any TO with actual tournament or organizational experience is a better option. Regardless of whether there is actual bias, a team org should not have control over the schedule, format, funding, seating, etc. of their own players in the biggest events of the year. No pro league or circuit that cares about competing integrity and anything can justify this. And it's important to look at the date when these things happen, because this is October 7th, which if you're looking at today's date or understand the dates when these things happened, this is long before anything got officially canceled or before Nintendo even mentioned things to them. These are comments made while Smash World Tour and Panda Cup were both very active and in the middle of their sessions, and Ken is actively, these are subtweeting Panda Cup. This is the statement he posted earlier. I don't need to read it again.
I truly believe the people and staff at BTS are not malicious and all of their misconceptions stem from Ken. In fact, I feel like a large number of misconceptions even beyond BTS about my or Panda's intentions are due to Ken. Nobody I've ever met at BTS has misinterpreted my words or have been anything but professional and kind, except Ken, so I am not looking to condemn their staff members whatsoever. To strong arming in the first 3 weeks, more than any other time period of the Panda Cup, I'm sure that this is when any misunderstandings could have arisen. When we first got the green light in March 2022 to begin preparation to launch the Panda Cup, when Omicron let up, I was beyond excited to finally talk about something I had been working on for 4 years. The same day we got approval, I set meetings with the first few twos thinking they would see me and Panda as a collaborative partner and as an ally of the community. As a cooperator looking out for their best interest, I thought our track record spoke for itself. This was not the case. Twos by nature are a careful bunch and many of them have been burned by others before, so it turns out they're constantly looking behind themselves for an ambush even when there isn't one coming. Things were moving fast behind the scenes. I was new to negotiations. It's a specific skill set unique from any other I found out, and I was overly excited to get things going. I know my intent was always to be honest and truthful, but with things changing so quickly, my passion overflowing, I may have given off the wrong impression to a handful in those early talks. For example, I heard at one point that when I made changes to my pitch based on feedback given to me by to one, and then talked to two, to one found out and felt I had lied to them. Because I didn't have time yet to update them on the changes I made for them.
Okay. Having things misinterpreted and making it look like you're shifting things behind your back. But again, this is something that you could have talked with them about at the time and wouldn't have been surfacing months later. So I think this is a little strange.
For them. After those first 3 weeks, I slowed down with the help of some of our staff members, and I started figuring out how to approach twos in a more clear and concise manner that, I hope, made it way harder to have any misunderstandings or miscommunications. Due to the fluctuant nature of things back then, I promised these early twos that I would back up my commitments with my personal finances so that even if things didn't pan out the way I said they would, I would do right by them. I've even said the same thing to our internal teams, and I've put my own personal funds into our hardware division on multiple occasions this year alone to keep the lights on. I did everything I could to reassure the twos that I am looking out for their best interest, that there is no ambush behind them, that Panda is for real. I didn't receive any feedback from twos, directly or to my staff at that time, that I did or said things that made them uncomfortable. In fact, the feedback that I received was glowingly positive, so I figured everything was going well. For every single discussion with twos for 2023, I had 2 other team members along with me to listen in and help me, even sending me messages mid-meeting to make sure I clarify things so there was no confusion. I went back and asked those team members again over the last few days, and they reiterated to me that they never once heard me say anything that could be misconstrued as threats or strong-arming. In conversations for 2023, not a single we reached out to said they would not want to talk or listen to us. In fact, of our early negotiations, only 2 out of 14 events we spoke to declined joining us after the initial pitch. Every we've talked with has been polite and straightforward.
Interesting. Interesting. So it seems like some misunderstanding. That's all it basically boils down to. I don't need to, analyze that any deeper.
Straightforward. To the twos. If I did do something to you where I seemed to be mean, threatening, strong-arming, or otherwise seemingly out to hurt your event, I implore you to please let me know, by email since I'm not using Twitter anymore, what I said or did to make you feel that way. I want to know how I screwed up so I can never do that again in whatever I explore after this. I do not understand how I could have caused that impression when I tried my best to be professional, honest, and straightforward in my interactions with each one of you, and I had no indication from any of our interactions that this was the case. I truly believe that if there are twos out there that do feel this way, that it's a misunderstanding, and I hope even though I'm no longer involved with Panda that I can at least clarify those interactions for you to clear my own conscience. So how do I prove I didn't strong-arm or threaten events that didn't want to join us? Well, here is a dump of screenshots to show you examples of my interactions with twos that declined joining the Panda Cup this year and some that accepted, so you can have a perspective of my conduct and communications. I am including these to show that I have been active in correcting possible miscommunication long before any of this was made publicly available.
Alright, let's go through them. For further information, not being able to work with Shine in 2023 was due to a scheduling issue that was resolved back in July. Aaron, the TO of Riptide. Aaron, I appreciate you getting back to me. There may have been a miscommunication about timing because last time I recalled, I mentioned about our time constraints, and you had agreed to let me know your possible interest in continuing the conversation within a 1-week time frame. I wasn't aware you intended to wait after Low Tide City until the message you mentioned that. Regardless, I hope LTC went well for you. I highly encourage, if you have any questions in the future, to reach out to me directly or rely on murmurs or taking anything as a fact unless it's from me as well. Blank only has everyone's best interest in mind. That's probably Panda. Or someone involved in Panda. As you noted, things can shift a lot fast. Best of luck at Riptide. I know you all will kill it, and I have no doubt on a great event. My apologies for how the miscommunication from my end. Given how hectic that time was and hard for me, I remember clearly everything that was said. I'll be sure to reach out to you directly in the future when I have some questions or need clarification. Thanks for the good luck. Same to you. Take care. Great. This is a lot. I can't read each of this. That's gibberish. Sheridan and Bojack, TOs of Genesis. Hey Sheridan and Boback. Truly appreciate your patience, feedback, and cooperation as we built our initial packages for events. Thanks for your help, we figured out 2 packages of support that we're offering events. One designed for the initial intervention, the minor package that BTS accepted last week. I thought, my misunderstanding, because I thought BTS didn't want any package. A lot of events keep their own broadcast, run of show, sponsors, and otherwise. We're still taking part in the Panda Cup circuit. Genesis around the corner. We revisited our plan, decided best of us not to rush into anything. We only have one shot at the first impression with the community after all, and we want to do them proud. We'd like to revisit this discussion in 2023 when things calm down for you both. After having a great event as usual, I've attached the deck and signaling document with details here for your perusal, I think. We welcome any feedback or thoughts you have, but I know you guys are slammed right now, so don't feel like it's necessary. Hopefully we'll start chatting around 2023 sometime soon, the packages, when we have even more. Thanks, Panda.
Available. She, 2 of Shine, Imgur.com, Aaron, 2 of Rip, 2 of Collision, Sheridan and Bubik. Here's another email I sent to a Riptides 2 who politely declined to join us this year. Note the line where I say, and if you choose not to opt in this year, that's okay. I'd love to know if we were missing anything crucial or if there is anything we can enhance for next year to further support your event's future continued success.
Great news! After yesterday's conversation between blank has confirmed that they're okay with events being streamed on blank. If you have any event owner choose to go that route, super excited that we found a way to work together here. you choose not to opt in this year, that's okay. I'd love to know if we're missing anything crucial, if there's anything we can enhance for next year and further support your events, further continued success. Looking forward to hearing back.
She, 2 of Shine, Imgur.com. Aaron, I'd love to know if we were missing any. Here is an internal message I sent to my Here is an internal message I sent to my staff members, who equals events, where I reassure them that it's fine if events don't want to join us because we can't sweeten the deal enough for them. The carrots.
Who wants to come along with us is their best choice. At this point, there's really no other carrots we can use. If they don't want in, they don't want in. This doesn't prove anything, I feel. Because the carrot could be like what we've been seeing in these emails, but the carrot also has the option of being him trying to strong arm people. So, I think this could be read either way.
The carrots. Also, SWT leadership claims that I was trying to monopolize license agreements. Easily disproved. There were at least 4 Nintendo license tournaments that did not go through us to obtain the license agreements this year and were not on the Panda Cup. Genesis, Low Tide City, Shine, and Riptide. The twos told us about their licensing themselves. In fact, Genesis has been licensed for every one of their events since Genesis 3 in 2016. One more claim to disprove, that I prevented twos from contacting Nintendo. Here is an email of me connecting 2 twos directly to Nintendo. Both of those events ended up going on to get license agreements but were not on the Panda Cup 2022.
Hey everyone, make the connection here for you all. On the TO, we have esteemed owners and operators of Low Tide City, Riptide, Aaron, and Trey. On the Nintendo end, we have awesome competitive play team of people. Excited to get the ball rolling and hopefully work together in the future. We'll let you know and take it from here. Thanks. Good evidence. Good evidence.
2022. Here is another email I sent to Nintendo regarding the status of events in our pre-launch negotiations. The claim that I had to threaten events to join doesn't make sense when we ended up doing far better than anticipated in our first year, and also shows that there was never any request made of Nintendo to take down events that said no. They were on board with what events joined or did not join.
This is barely readable and I don't know if I want to read it. Hey, this week we'll be making tremendous progress for finalizing the schedule. At the end of the day, we are creating something for the first time with a healthy amount of distrust from the community leadership. Unfortunately, not enough solid answers for them to jump in. But I'm preaching to the choir right now, and post-mortem analysis can wait. All we can do at the moment is keep building something they want to be a part, because it is awesome. This looks like an email that's been sent out to all of Panda. That being said, I think the circuit is actually looking better than what you may think. Theo Gommel signed, and this is like recapping each event and whether or not they signed or not. Out of the events that are within the time frame we agreed on, only 2 out of the 10 have declined. 2 are likely to sign up within the next couple of days. 1 is still thinking, 1 pending approvals. We have 3 signed on already. I think it's close to the best case scenario. Recall, we are only targeting 4 to 5 events originally, and we already have 3 on board, and at least 5 by the end of the week. Being on new curveballs doesn't include PAX West Arcadian Invitational concept either. Not sure if that ever ended up happening or not. The only awkwardness that may occur here is if Riptide declines, because this will create a large hole with no open major offline events between early July and early October, but I think we can try to get creative if that were to happen. Regardless, if we can get CEO Gommel, I can't read the rest of it because of the thing. I'll get to work on the deliverables you asked for early next week, fingers crossed, if that's okay with you. And feel free to tell me if you think my read is wrong here. I'm feeling pretty good about our current position. Some stuff in chat, let me read. He explained his mistake about his wrongdoing. He didn't blame his team once they thought he would do. I personally switched my view. Yes, he was overly aggressive, but it's understandable. IMO, Special Tour, BTS just reacted, or just have poor reading comprehension. Definitely not reading comprehension. I think just things got misinterpreted in a lot of ways. A lot of miscommunications happening, more of the connotation. More about that than it is about, like, connotation of words. You can say something, but the way it gets interpreted can mean different thing. Not connotation, different thing. But how your words get perceived is really important, and I think that a lot of Alan's statements came off a lot more different than what he was intending. And so stuff was getting misconstrued. And it was very convenient for them to dump it on Alan and his team, which is, I think, what I'm understanding based on what we've read thus far, but we still got another 10 minutes left. So let's keep going.
Join. One final point towards a lack of motive to threaten events. The offer we gave most events was really good. They saved tons of money for infrastructure, had their broadcasts upgraded, casters paid for, sponsors brought on, etc. Off the top of my head, we spent over $90,000 supporting one event and $50,000 on another. We sent staff to help them with setup and tear down, film interviews with their attendees to put a face to the event, and much more. There were some bumps along the way while we figured out our footing, hence why the deal was so good, but they were minor and we executed well. There's no reason to threaten someone to take a deal like that. It just doesn't make sense. In my talks with twos, I've reiterated many times to them that Panda does not want the full pie. We want 10% of a much bigger pie where we all end up with more pie than otherwise. Everyone gets to eat more, and that's what Panda is all about. I've said this in more conversations than I can count. I will maintain, again, that I did not strong-arm, threaten, or otherwise try to pressure events to join us.
Intend. Right here. Intend. I did not intend to strong-arm, threaten, or otherwise try to, because you may think that you didn't. That does not mean that your words were interpreted in another way. It is important to add that you did not intend to strong-arm. I understand why you don't have it, but that's
and that any
important.
Perception otherwise is a misunderstanding that I would love to have the chance to clarify with the involved parties. Nintendo. A big question we got all the time is, what is Nintendo providing that makes this partnership worth it? Nintendo supports events in different ways, every way about helping them save money and become more stable. Commentary support, setups, production at times, staffing, shipping, etc.
I want to pause right here because there's something really important I want to make note. That was not a part of Smash World Tour's statement or this statement. It's something that does affect things. Commentary support and whatnot, Nintendo is very stingy about what commentators they pick. If you are a person with a history that does not support Nintendo's views or has been critically of Nintendo in the past, supported PM, there's a lot of words going around that Nintendo will actively not choose you for events. So, saying that Nintendo provides commentary support isn't necessarily a great thing. I want to make sure that's clear. You don't want commentary support from a Nintendo because Nintendo filters out commentaries that are good, but they may not be brand safe for Nintendo, or they actively have beliefs that conflict with Panda and Nintendo as a junked group included.
I've seen Nintendo spend more money on the Smash community to help save events money this year than any other.
Nintendo wants to be family friendly, yes, but more important to Nintendo than being family friendly is not supporting something that actively go against their company's beliefs. Nintendo shut down PM, plain and simple. I know Alan's kind of like alluding that maybe VGBC as a company chose to shut it down despite Nintendo not actually taking action. I don't buy that. It is very clear that Nintendo does not like PM, so they are wanting to protect their own IPs as much as possible. So they're actively going to work with people who do not, or do things that go against their IPs. They're supporting mods, which is also interesting because if you think about it, ESAM is very active with using the Smash mod pack and has not been asked to take it down, despite the fact that his company is working very closely with Nintendo. Maybe that has changed since this deal has gone through, but I have not directly seen any evidence of that. But maybe we could do some investigation later and see if that's true.
Other organization in the world outside of the Panda Cup. Every penny they spend is towards the community. They can't help every event, but they truly tried their best to help prop them up. Anyone who thinks Nintendo only gave their blessing or gave us a license and a thumbs up has no idea how much they've done behind the scenes. Working with Nintendo is challenging. They have high standards for their partners and care deeply about how their IPs are used.
Yep.
There's a lot of red tape to navigate, even for people used to red tape. The design of the Panda Cup was to help simplify that process and made it much easier for events to obtain licenses, with or without Panda, within a reasonable time frame. Every single competitor.
I think the way they did that, and reading a bit into it based on what I understand with this statement, is that the reason that a lot of the companies ended up getting to keep their own broadcasting rights, and that Nintendo, I forget how exactly they directed that, but the way I'm understanding this is that Panda organized it in such a way So that way, it made it so that way companies could keep their broadcast rights and whatnot because Nintendo is so picky. So they were trying to get Nintendo as involved without like having to change how events would normally function. That's my understanding, at least. Welcome, Diego. Big fan. I saw your Discord message, by the way. Just trying to get through with this, and I'll respond.
Competitive video game in the world that is the size of Smash has publisher regulations in order to do major commercial activity, and that's a fact. Smash just never really had meaningful, major commercial activity in it, and that's part of the problem. Because if Smash never has that major commercial activity, then it'll never be able to sustain full-time careers for more than a handful of people. The community would continue to see the most passionate and the most talented people leave to pursue jobs where they can actually raise a family or make a long-term career. But the worry is that if Smash had publisher regulations and commercial licensing without proper community oversight, then we risk losing the identity of the Smash community, which wouldn't be worth it in the end. So this became the cornerstone of the Panda Cup. We'd take the red tape, the corporate limitations, the months and years of approvals, in exchange for the rest of the community having freedom, keeping their identity while being able to do major commercial activity, helping to take events from barely breaking even to profitable, so they can support the dedicated people who make them a reality, and that careers would begin to pop up throughout the community. We didn't want the whole pie and never have. So how much did Nintendo directly pay Panda to do this? $0. How much did Panda pay Nintendo? $0. They supported Panda on the back end, are partners with Panda, and help facilitate the Panda Cup. Despite popular belief that they'd get in the way, they never once said no to a sponsorship opportunity for the Panda Cup. Within 5 months the Cup signed more than $2 million in sponsorships and counting. Every single sponsor said they wouldn't have come in if Nintendo wasn't supporting us in the way they were doing. This is year zero. Panda Cup spent all that money on the Panda Cup and Panda Cup finale event. The finale was going to go big. Panda paid for the LAC and Novo without outside support because we thought the Smash community needed to see what Panda could do for them when things actually worked out. The finale had hundreds of setups, arcade games, a carnival section, gacha machines and crane games, completely free to enter. A finale that Panda had to postpone because of death threats to our staff and even contractors, player boycotts, and dropouts, all thanks to the lies from BTS and the SWT leadership team.
Yeah, that was kind of my thoughts, like, when the initial statement came out, too, is that, like, look at how much we are losing based on all this happening. Smash World Tour causes a ripple effect where we also lose Panda. And what I was understanding is that despite the things that Dr. Allen's statements were doing, based not even on the statements we're seeing here, but based on the Smash World Tour things, is that he was really trying to poise the community to have good relationships with Nintendo, and that makes sense given that brands don't want to work with companies that aren't official. If it's not sponsored by Nintendo, it's hard to get companies like Nissan involved, or I don't even know who else is involved with stuff like Capcom World Tour, or other fighting games, because it's so hard to get those sponsorships otherwise. So Panda's trying to navigate the really difficult and hard to work with company historically in hopes that they can open a door to have Nintendo be more incorporated into the community, which opens up the door for sponsorships, and that's how they're getting paid. It's not through the idea of like Smash World Tour paid more. They're trying to create infrastructure that allows Nintendo to be more involved in the community while still giving TOs the same flexibility they've had for years.
People have been questioning the value of everything we've done this year, so here it is. Now I laid it all out for you. Conclusion. I've been part of the Smash community since 2007. I've served as a volunteer moderator for the original boards, a backroom member helping discuss rule sets, A2, a commentator, an event organizer, a community leader, and many other roles over the years. Even when I supposedly retired from Smash when I went to graduate school, I found myself returning after I finished, going to my local tournament straight out of work still in my work clothes. The foundation of Panda was for the goal of helping those around us, treating people fairly, and growing the community that I've been proud to be a part of for so many years. Over these last 9 years, I've worked incredibly hard to make a company with the goal of creating career opportunities in the space where there were none before, to allow people to go full-time to support Smash and fighting games, to pour their passions into a sustainable, long-term effort. I made sure that any success that Panda had seen, any investment we've ever received, and every time we've done something great, the end result was the same. put all of it back into the community. I remember reading a funny tweet once that said the esports industry is a losing racket and the only respect-worthy people are the ones that take VC money and give it to their homies. I laughed mostly because it made me realize I built a company that never took VC money yet still poured millions of dollars into the homies and was sustainable. Supporting everyone that worked incredibly hard that I will always be grateful to have called my team and my friends. I'm pretty proud of that.
I think it's important to add into here, every single person that has quit Panda since then. I'm talking about Coney, Esam hasn't left yet, Mars hasn't left yet, Wadi, Little Z, anybody that's been involved with Panda has been very positive about their work experiences there. Nobody's come out with their own twit longer saying about how much of a miserable experience it was working with Panda, including people within my own community who were involved. We had a graphic design artist in my local scene who works with Panda, and they also had no negative things to say about the company. They are a well-reported company within the community, which is why it was so strange to get this initial document out, but we will see.
But now the mob mentality has dragged me down to the point that even my closest friends can't defend me publicly without backlash. If you skip to the end, please don't, but since you are here, I'm no longer the CEO of Panda, thanks to lies, falsehoods, and bandwagon character attacks. My life and the lives of my family are at risk. My team was harassed to the point of resigning, many in tears, and they may never have a chance to pursue a full-time career in Smash again. SWT leadership organized and coordinated a lie about the circumstances surrounding their status of license agreement, making up a villain to blame it all on and come out as the heroes on top. Past and present BTS leadership chose to corroborate it publicly for unknown reasons but definitely benefit from it as well. A former BTS leader took every opportunity to stonewall and obfuscate any efforts to come to an agreement, going so far as to dare legal action, not by Panda or me, that would harm the community, on top of even threatening to revoke sponsorships from events that considered working with the Panda Cup. In spite of this, I still tried to make every effort to work with BTS. The goal of the Panda Cup was always about growing the entire Smash community and was never about my personal aspirations. Our model always shared revenue with everyone even outside of Panda, including events, casters, players, production, staffing, and more. 98% of the staff of Panda were people from the Smash and fighting game communities, a monolith of our scenes that truly and honestly had the best interest of the community at heart. Born from grassroots yet professional and elevated in output, and that very same community tore it down in a matter of days. This cannot be who the Smash community becomes. Regardless of what my statement says, I do not want the same thing to happen to BTS, to VGBC, or to anyone. Please do not harass any groups, do not dox anyone, and do not attack whomever you perceive to be the villain of the hour. Smash has to change. Smash has to be better than this. I've given almost 9 years of my life to serving this community. I've dedicated thousands of hours, worked every weekend, put aside starting a family, and stepped away from a successful career that took 10 years to achieve. I think my longest real vacation in 9 years was 1 week. And over those 9 years of Panda, I have never paid myself or taken a dime. Just to make Smash into a stable, growing, community and a Tier 1 esport. I truly believed in it. Money isn't why I did this. I started Panda and became a CEO for only one reason. Give players careers in a field they're truly passionate about. And I'm proud to say I did that. But now I'm the villain. The greedy corporate pig that wants to line his own pockets. The enemy of the community that I've sacrificed some of the best years of my life for. I'm so evil now that people are attacking my very home. I was able to create dozens of full-time jobs in one of the smallest niches of competitive gaming, an accomplishment only Panda has achieved at that scale. And despite that, I spent the weekend telling my friends and family to call the police to increase patrols at their homes. All over lies, false character attacks, and a concerted harassment campaign started from people who directly profit by destroying the careers of over 100 people from their own community. This community was my life. Its success is all I've ever wanted. I can sleep soundly at night knowing that I spent the last 9 years doing everything in my power to help, not hurt, those around me. But I cannot stand by while bad faith actors continue to poison the well and celebrate the destruction of what the Panda team has worked on for years. If I can't do it, I trust the people after me to do it. The incredible members of Panda and the greater Smash community who love this more than life itself. The future is in your hands. Keep going.
And that is the end of the statement. So let's wrap up our thoughts. Let's talk about it a little bit. First thing to know. Panda has a long history of positive rapport within the community. This includes sponsoring players, This includes... I guess you can't see this window. I'll change window. I am not good at navigating this thing. Oh, it won't let me. I think instead what we're going to do is let's look at Twitter. I'm curious what Twitter thinks. Nice time for me to plug that you should subscribe to the channel while we're getting Twitter loaded up. I won't do news stuff like this often because I think it's overall negative for the community. Let's see who's talking about Dr. Allen. What's coming of this statement? Growing it help. This seems like the good medium. Let's adjust this a little bit. We don't want this part of it either. We want just this. Coney. Panda got me in 2019. I was full-time in 2020. In roughly 4 years I worked under Allen. I never gave me a reason to think him greedy or manipulative. I truly don't know what happened to get us to this point, but it's just awkward to see the entire scene growing just to be pulled the fuck back. 100% agree! I think Coney is right to say that he has a very good positive rapport in the community. That is 100% true. And nobody feels like they're in the right here. Allen doesn't feel like he's in the right, but I also don't feel like BTS and Smash World Tour are in the right. Nobody's in the right. It's just a shitty situation that everybody got dragged into. Posting this, read Dr. Allen's response in regard to the hotel booking thing. Between this and Dark Gen X's tweet confirming advanced tip-ins for Smash World Tours, Allen appears to at the very least be misinformed on this bit. Kind of like what I was talking about, right? There might be a legal reason why he cannot see the start times for events. So I had a feeling that this wasn't going to be true, and I was 100% correct. This seems to be a misunderstanding that things were booked out during that time. Panda team does acknowledge and regret the interaction between Dr. Allen and BTS, in which he spoke in a manner that does not reflect either guidance or from Nintendo or our own standards. Does not equal Allen threatened BTS. I'm sure you can see which interaction this was mentioning. The one where they, yeah. It was the one where he raised his voice and he said that he regretted it in his own statement. People trying to pull a got ya Allen instead of reading his statement about something that hurt so many people's careers. That's why the community will never be freed. Also a great statement. I'm going to start keeping count of TOs denouncing Dr. Allen's statement. I got shit to say. What does this say? Bobak. This is the people who run Genesis. I got some shit to say. Not going into detail, but from the very first moment Allen opened his mouth to the last time we spoke, nothing but snake-like sounds could be heard, like that shit in Harry Potter, and this came out today since this statement came out. In fact, it was exactly an hour ago. That's... Based on the information we saw, though, that doesn't seem true. That's not the vibe I got. How the fuck is Mango so good at talking? This is unrelated. Out of all this Panda stuff, the most incredible thing to me is that Dr. Allen really said, "Fuck man, I'm so stressed out right now. The perfect thing for me to help cope under all this pressure this past few days, League of Legends." Dr. Allen looking at the technical that's from a while ago. I encourage people to read this document and come to their own logical conclusions based on the statement. I will always encourage you to make your own conclusions. I am a dumbass on the internet. I don't know what I'm talking about. Come to your own conclusions. Do not take the things that I say at face value. Come to your own conclusions. Do your own research. I'm just trying to provide a place for people to be able to have stuff read to them with a little bit of background music and have a little bit of a dialogue about the things going on. But absolutely do this. Read your own document and come to your own conclusions. 100%. I can't believe Dr. Allen made this image real. Your Honor, League of Legends, death. It doesn't show because of the way I have it formatted, but that is a tweet on the internet. You never guess who this TO's is responding to Dr. Allen would never. Don't worry, he's assassinating his own character better than I or anyone else ever could. Open your mouth a little wider, I have huge balls. Technical's defending Dr. Allen. That's suspicious. The mansion Ken Chen owns in Dr. Allen's head, the price you ask, $0. Nick Yingling, again, that's Ludwig's assistant, works for Mogul Moves. And again, like I said, that entire group is very close with Ken Chen. Popcorn reading the Dr. Allen statement at the local. Dr. Allen Panda, Dr. Allen Bunny has been banned from all future St. Louis melee events. I am no longer a relevant member in the community. The most important thing to take away from Dr. Allen's statement is that you are absolutely trash for sending death threats. True! If you are an individual within the stream that took place in any of this, you are scum. Thank you, Reno, former top melee player.
A lot of people were asking me for my opinion on the Dr. Allen thing, and I don't care, get out of my head, I don't.
Thank you. Read the entirety of Dr. Allen's statement. These are the bits that stay with me. I agree the community is dominated by personalities that essentially became a de facto figureheads for much larger community on Nintendo's IP. Ken, Gimmer, and Smash Bros. Tour all look very terrible via this doc. I don't think they necessarily look terrible. I think that this all became a giant misunderstanding, and nobody's taking action to communicate with each other, so this got blown out of proportion. Smash Bros. Tour had to cancel, which, to be fair, I still believe that they were in the right to do, based on if the things within their document are true, and they did receive news from Nintendo that events were requiring a license. Smash Bros. Tour is still within their right to cancel. That is still a good decision, and there is still pressure from Nintendo, regardless of what Dr. Allen or Nintendo's statement says. Saying that they had no saying that they had no reason to do that and that it was entirely their own decision is BS, based on the information we have. We need a presidential debate with Dr. Allen in every single goddamn TO. Let Mikey be the moderator and question asker. So are TOs, besides Bobak, being very active against what this is saying? I have always wanted to... This is from before, December 2nd, November 4. That's from before. I think everything that has been coming out from the reputable resources across the community, I think it's safe to say all of Dr. Allen's claims in his statement. What does this say?
We made this one up. It's false. No way. Not this time. We created it. Not this time. No, not this time. It's totally made up. Pure.
After everything I've done, safe reputable sources across the community, I think it's safe to say all of Dr. claims are false. Who are you? Are you a TO? 17 college student, gamer, variety Twitch streamer, nobody important. And I don't say that in a mean way. I'm saying you're not relevant to the conversation, because it's important to see how TOs feel. Another TO, MC Polo. This is from December 2nd, so we're going to skip it. December 2nd. Let's click latest. I encourage people to read this document and come to their own logical conclusions. That's what we heard. In reading Dr. Allen's statement, I do believe Allen is the ultimate villain in the story. The true villain... I do not believe Allen is the ultimate villain of the story. The true villain here is capitalism. Smash community must band together and unite against the rich and powerful. That's a weird take to get from this, because I don't think capitalism from the problem. I think it's a bunch of adults that did not communicate well with each other. Riddle of Dr. Allen's statement, he surprisingly provided for real evidence and receipts, unlike Smash Bros. Tour, but man, I'm disappointed and sad that Smash was so close to be successfully supported by Nintendo for the long run. Now it's squandered and might take a while for it to happen again. Ken responded with a thread. Oh, let's check that out. If Ken responded. I'll do that in a second, though. Someone's trying to link hungrybox to the stream for some reason. Main point of contention. Let's look up Ken Chen. I want to see Ken Chen's statement. Hard to take this 32-pager seriously, but since I was called out, I'll respond in a thread. Here's me talking to Alan about how running to Nintendo and banging on doors about broadcast rights is potentially an existential threat to the entire scene. And we will read these documents. Let me get this pulled up. Visible for all to see. That still doesn't show everything. That is everything. It says, we'll cut away from main desk to analyst desk between sets most likely and would additionally fill dead air for delays, etc. Friday, Saturday, Sundays. This is Dr. Allen speaking. This is Ken Chen speaking. And for broadcast rights being a gray area, you mean tournaments selling broadcast rights. We'll work on outlining plan for you because we purchased the broadcast rights to Riptide, Big House Shine, etc. Twitch buys the platform broadcast from us. We bought them from tournaments. Both the tournaments selling broadcast rights and broadcasts being monetized. Been like this for 8+ years. They have a problem with that now. It's been 100+ events with that. Well, I hope they don't. That'd be pretty catastrophic for every single event. And a larger one that says, don't know what they're thinking right now, but yeah, def could get rough in some situations. Well, I hope not. Interesting. Hard to come up with anything conclusive from that. I think, again, it's a bunch of adults arguing with each other. The capitalism one is obviously a meme. Yeah. Not Ken Chen. Me following Ken Chen into war. Ken Chen response thread, specifically an in-depth, called out Alan. Oh, wait, there's more to this. Yeah. In the call that Alan threatened BTS multiple times, I reported the threats as the call was happening, and directly after Deep, this is the owner of BTS now, who I will open in a separate tab so we can look at in a second. My boss at the time, LD, was not on the call, but he was there as I typed a transcript of it on Slack. Here's a screenshot of me doing that. Dude, Alan on the call, legit threatening me about 2023, was on the call, what the fuck. To be clear, I did not yell or explode at Alan at all. He was extremely hostile and exhausting to talk to. In fact, part of the reason I left BTS to join Team Liquid in June was because I never wanted to deal with Alan or Panda again. I confided this to multiple people as I left. Panda themselves issued a statement saying they regret Alan threatening BTS, yet you can just denies it happens here. No, I'm gonna defend BTS, not BTS. I'm gonna defend Panda and Alan here for a moment. Is that when you are in a legal situation, you have to save face. So you are going to say things regardless of if they're true or not, because you are a company and you have the best interests of, or you're trying to have the best will towards the company. Panda is still pushing forward a product at the end of the day. The actions of Dr. Allen had some amount of evidence being put forward, which means that if they do not directly address them and condemn the actions publicly, their event is still in jeopardy, which it was anyways, but they can't double down and be like, well, they can't confide in him. All they can do is lightly encourage him to leave, which was ultimately the best decision Allen made through this, was deciding to leave the company. Still a good decision, regardless of whether or not everything in his document is true. BTS refused to collaborate with Alan largely because of his conduct, not because of me. I simply recorded the exact truth of the conversation, which LD and other BTS leadership can verify happened right in the call with Alan in March. I have not been publicly and privately turning people against Panda for months. I've simply been telling the honest story of what happened, which was threats and bullying that Panda, his own org, even admitted to happening. I am not some crazy boogeyman trying to take Panda down. I'm someone that cares about the Smash scene and knew this exact situation would play out like it did. The reason I didn't say shit since March, when BTS was threatened, was precisely because I didn't want to blow this up. So I think this is in response to those tweets that we were seeing back in October 7th, where Ken Chen was pretty vocal about being against Panda before Smash World Tour got shut down. This is him saying that he pretty much knew that was going to happen based on the conduct of Panda, and figured that the event should probably be coming down just based on context, if I'm understanding this correctly. As for the NDA talking about real estate, absolutely hilarious thing to include in this. I kind of agree. I'm more than willing to post the entire NDA if Panda allows me to. Multiple people have confirmed their NDAs and have real estate language in it. It's just a failed copy-paste job. Alan's account of the entire situation with BTS is so disjointed and riddled with lies, it's difficult to respond. I don't even know where to start with it. This conversation transcript that he posted with me is just not what happened. Full stop, not even close. Seriously, what the fuck? And this is the part about the $40,000. I wasn't trying to get TOs to turn on Panda. They privately complained about Alan constantly to me. I'd let the other TOs say their own story about it, but at some point dealing with it took up so much of my time I couldn't work on anything else for BTS. I am not the boogeyman that orchestrated this whole takedown. The other TOs didn't work with Alan because they didn't like his conduct. They didn't trust him as a good representative of Nintendo, and what he was offering wasn't good enough. Smashable towards statement is, which also I'd like to point out, remember that part in the statement where Alan did say that BTS still would consider the package for the next year. They just didn't want to do it for this year, and Alan was still pressuring them into it. They were still in the right to decline that package, and even though Alan was more than pushy about it, I think Ken Chan's totally right here. The Smashable towards statement is largely accurate, at least the stuff about BTS. Anyone knows the history between VGBC and BTS understands I would not say this unless it was the truth. I don't work with BTS anymore, but I still care about Smash more than any competition between orgs. When we first invited Alan to come to Summit and talk about the Panda Cup circuit in November 2021, the first thing out of his mouth was how Smashable Tour was going to get shut down. Dozens of people heard it, and many can corroborate those. This next screenshot is nuts. I have no idea how to respond to this, but running Smash events for 8 years, I've been part of many communities, including StarCraft and Dota, and I think my relationships and track record speaks for itself. It's talking about the section where Ken is willing to jeopardize the entire Smash community. Or he especially targets Ken specifically as a threat to the Smash community as a whole, and it got cut me out of the thread. Let's get to where we were. To all Panda Global employees, I'm sorry this guy happened to you. Oh my god, brutal. For those that are departing, I hope you find good homes everywhere or elsewhere. You don't deserve to have your careers and brand that you built destroyed by one person. Again, Ken's statement is mostly right. I don't think anybody is in the wrong in the statement. It is a bunch of adults that are bad at collaborating, trying to collaborate. And that's what's frustrating. I don't think anybody's at fault here. I think it is a situation that got way overblown, an event got canceled, and everybody's dealing with the repercussions of it, including Dr. Allen, especially. Let's look at LD. So this is the new owner of Panda. Not Panda, new owner, or BTS owner, after Ken Chen. The only time I've seen Hotbed yell at anyone the way Alan describes is when he's in Mafia in a literal game of Mafia. It's impossible for me to take anything Alan says seriously when faced with such an extreme claim. As far as I can tell, nobody has corroborated. I'm being dumb. Is there more to this thread? After reading Alan's blog and piecing it together with everything else I know, here's my TLDR of what I believe happened. Alan just sold a Smash circuit to Nintendo without actually getting buy-in from the vast majority of tentpole Smash events. But that's not true, right? We know he said that he had 8 tournaments out of 10 potentially interested. He had 3 confirmed. He wanted 3 to 5. He had 3 that were on the fence, 3 that were in the middle of getting signed. I think he really wanted Panda involved because he knew it would be best for the community, but he doesn't get to make that decision, which LD is totally right about. This is obvious from the fact that most major events were not on the Panda Cup in 2022. After selling our events without our input, he then scrambled to get all of us on board. Kind of reading into it, but understandable. So what do we think? Anybody have any really strong opinions about this? Ken responded in the thread. The capitalism one is obviously a meme. Yeah, I agree. I mean, yeah, I don't know. It's going to be interesting. See what comes out of the next couple of days. But this is all I have right now. If more evidence comes forward, maybe I'll make a follow-up. But I'm going to end it right here. So for those of you who stayed around for most of the ride or all of the ride, I really appreciate you. Thank you for stopping by. If you enjoy Smash content, I do streams where I stream viewer arenas and whatnot very often. If any of that interests you, you're more than welcome to drop a subscribe. If not, I totally understand. And stay safe out there. Make good decisions for yourselves. And I'll see you guys next time. Take care.